Lighthouses have always been the symbol of hope from one hand and loneliness from another. So basically there is no surprise that movies about lighthouses and their lightkeepers are either romantic and full of inspiration or horrifying and full of desperation. And sometimes they're even both, as you will see further in the video. As for me, I just love lighthouses. I collect and study everything about them, and it's obvious that I've probably watched all movies ever created with lighthouses in them. And now I'll gladly share my top 13 of the movies about lighthouses, because top 10 was too trivial, I think. So let's get started right away. Little Kathleen, daughter of a lightkeeper, loses both her parents when her mother is found beaten up to death in a cellar of a lighthouse, and her father, accused for murder, dies in a madhouse. 20 years later, a bright idea pops into someone's head, and this lighthouse is about to be turned into a tourist attraction. Kathleen is probably the one who surely knows that it's a bad idea, and the process must be stopped by any means, but will she find strength to finally face the location of her constant nightmares before it is too late? This movie tells us a story based on the real events that took place in the United Kingdom in the 19th century. A dark story about two lightkeepers who were abandoned on their post during a raging storm. It starts as a story about two different people trying to get along in a closed space and ends up revealing how easily desperation goes hand in hand with madness when all hope is gone. An enthusiastic meteorologist arrives to deserted Stony Island and gets acquainted with a gloomy lightkeeper named Gruner. Soon they, together, have to fend off the invasion of strange human-like sea creatures. Attacks are repeated almost daily, and curious meteorologist becomes less and less sure whether fighting is the best and only option. So he starts annoying Gruner with inconvenient questions, and the most annoying that meteorologist has in his mind: if Gruner really is a lightkeeper, and if not, who is he? This is a story about a brave lighthouse keeper who manages to survive when pirates occupy his lighthouse, and since then he has no way back, as the fates of all ships passing by are in his hands now. This is a dynamic film adaptation of an adventurous novel written by Jules Verne, and the question is how much from the novel is really left in the movie. The old lightkeeper with a nasty character lives his ordinary lightkeeper's life until one day a young man comes to him right from the sea, tells a badly invented lie about himself and asks for a vacancy of an assistant. Old lightkeeper and young stranger hardly find something in common except one thing: they both hate women, each of them for his own reason. And of course, rather soon their convictions are tested with an appearance of two nice ladies who live nearby. So were both men so sincere in their hatred after all? Charlie is a kind-hearted boy who has a serious disease and a passion for photography. Vicky is a sympathetic and sincere girl who once chose the wrong path in their life and who is a prostitute now. Two people rejected by society, crippled either inside or outside, come into each other's lives and stay to change them forever. She encourages him to follow his dream, and he shows her that she is better than she thinks she is. So they drive carelessly from one Californian lighthouse to another, taking pictures. But will lighthouses manage to fulfill their purpose and really help those who are lost? In the middle of narration, we observe a nameless guy who finds himself on a seashore during a gruesome storm. Searching for help, he comes across with an unsociable and gloomy lighthouse keeper who claims that there are no other people on the island. But despite that, our nameless hero sees a strange lady in white dress quite regularly, and in the end even starts talking to her, and not only talking. Will she help him in revealing lighthouse keeper's secrets, which he obviously has? First of all, why is it so important to have a candle burning permanently when the night falls down on a lighthouse? Another movie about lighthouse uniting two lost souls. This time these are two 10-year-old kids who stand together against the whole big world. One is an antisocial orphan named Eric. At this age he already has huge trust issues and he has to change schools very often because of changing foster families. And the other one is an outcast named Jan, who is actually a subtle girl named Mary, who tries to fulfill her dead father's dream of having a son instead of daughter. Their adventure to the lighthouse together leads to another journey away from this world full of adult lies and mischief. But what if these kids are wrong and there are still people who love them and care about them? Rachel is a successful writer. She has a husband, an adorable son, a house in a picturesque place. But once a horrible tragedy shatters her happiness into pieces, she feels the need to run away from herself, from her memories, and from the sense of guilt, to find some quiet place and start writing again. She rents a house in a distant village with a view of the lighthouse and almost starts a new life with new acquaintances and inspiration. Everything goes well until Rachel becomes trapped in a situation when her common sense and sanity are highly questioned by society and her own self. So, is she really insane, or there is some third force playing with her life? The Lightkeeper's daughter, Camilla, comes to the small Breton island in order to prepare her parents' house for selling. Diving into history of her family in the days before her birth, she learns a lot about her parents and the society which they were part of. She comes to know how special this place actually is, and it remains like this, and reasonably starts thinking, is it really necessary to get rid of such important piece of her life? This movie is a story which was read by Camilla. A boy from an orphanage arrives to a tiny island to become a Lightkeeper's disciple. He is not quite amicably met by Lightkeeper himself and his family, and it doesn't take a long time for him to realize that the head of the family is a despotic and cruel man who holds his family in a constant terror and intensity. And all in all, they are as far from definition of happy family as possible. Yet, young disciple is fine with it, as he is really eager to learn new skill and get a job. Anything but coming back to the orphanage. This thought is a base for his behavior. It defines all his choices, and only when he figures out a horrible secret that this family keeps, the young disciple starts to question, is it okay to be the apprentice of a monster? The First World War is finally over, and Tom returns from the battlefield longing for some peace at last. He finds a job of a lightkeeper, and soon after he also manages to find the love of his life in tender-hearted Isabel. Soon the boat is found floating close to the shores, where Tom and Isabel find a dead body and a newborn baby. They decide to keep the baby girl as their own child, But will Tom be able to keep such serious secret as he is used to living according to the rules of order and honesty? And what if girl's relatives are searching for her? Two US Marshals arrive to the mental asylum located on a distant island in Massachusetts. They come to solve the mysterious disappearance of one of the patients, and it's obvious from the very beginning that everyone in this hospital knows something that would help to undisclose the case's mystery, but they don't want to share it with Marshals. Yet, one of Marshals, Teddy, goes on with his own investigation, which leads him to the old lighthouse on the other side of the island. This lighthouse is the key to the truth. But is this exactly the truth Ted is looking for? Well, that's it. I intentionally didn't include movies with the lighthouses used only as a background decoration or mentioned only once. And also there was no animation because, there are so many amazing cartoons about lighthouses, so I just decided to make another video about them. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button if you saw your favorite movie in this video or if you just adore lighthouses like I do. See you next time. Bye bye.